Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest heart, the blackest mind, the blackest man on social media is signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. With that being said, this message is in response to the base Pluto. He uploaded a video recently. And it was actually about yesterday. I put in the work and tried everything, nothing worked. Now that was a follow-up to another one that I have not yet seen, which is entitled Self-Improvement Didn't Work. You do not know me, so stop acting like you do. And I want to listen to that next. First thing I wanted to make mention of though was this. Shout out to the base Pluto, and shout out to the Reverend Brother Pastor Deacon Dr. Edward Allen Anderson, aka the Master of Long Wind Jutsu. I didn't give him that nickname, by the way. The last one, I mean. Don Calypso was the one that was creative enough to think of that. I'm going to now say this. That video was about right. Self-improvement is a good thing to do for yourself, but I'm going to give you guys something that actually will work. One thing will beat the need to so-called self-improve just for these broads, but it works in the short term. You can target it. But even that's not the long-term one. Let me give it to y'all straight. First, pheromones that are not fake will work. I only recommend using them if you're trying to get married and you're attempting to impress her or even a dad to marry you. But the other thing I want you to understand is that is temporary. That's it. It does what pheromones do, the ones that work, are that they kick out male and female pheromones in combination from you so that you are subconsciously, not just consciously when she looks at you, but you were subconsciously identified by the lady next to you, not only as a man, but as a man that other women want. This goes straight, the nerve in their nose that detects pheromones does not detect other scents, and it goes straight to their limbic system. We already know how they respond to men that other women want, very competitively and jealously. They just can't, especially if they're not aware of it, they can't control it. Now, if they are aware, then they can. Understand that. Keep that in mind. That is important to note. I also want y'all to factor in this too. If you use that temporarily, and then it has other uses too, like you probably could use that to give you an edge up in a job interview. Things like that, things where somebody else's assessment can have a positive or negative effect on you and you know that that's coming up, okay, fine, all right. But that's just a temporary one. The one that you can really use is something I've mentioned before, but I'm going to tell you a practical reason that it's better even than the pheromones and better than even the other avenues of self-improvement. I'm going to tell you the tactical reason that it's better if you don't believe in any spiritual benefits to this. I've told you about fasting before. I've said that although some guys go through a spike in libido when they first started, it generally it goes away, and you can cater, you can reduce the fasting. At my age, I can simply reduce how much I eat. But then again, I've also been through traumas that make that easy. But the point I'm making is that you can tailor it to you. But that is the actual weapon that is so effective that if most of us did it, we probably would not even need to self-improve. See, if every guy gets the pheromones thinking, oh, okay, now I've got a way to succeed and be chosen and at least have some options, all that's going to happen is it's the same thing as if every man lifts weights. They'll just turn around and still eliminate because in the end, your thing, your junk, your Johnson is still easy and available. They can't respect that. They will not, and they wouldn't if they could. Now, let's move forward. What about if you fast, and most of us did it, all of a sudden, peeing becomes about as difficult as the vajayjay is now at this point. You make the peeing less available, far less available, without them meeting certain standards. And their peace leave, they can no longer sit up and just kind of hold hostage while refusing to meet any standards and telling you to meet a bunch of them. So we've been operating under the premise that we want to hit that and they don't want to get hit. No, they just want the same few dudes, that's all. But one of the reasons they're doing that is because it is so available to them. Turn around and make it unavailable and watch what happens. As a group, as a collective. Now, right now, when I say this, some of you were thinking, but that's biologically not realistic. Well, it depends. Here's the bombshell, guys. Get ready for this. Sit down. You've already done this to a certain extent. So you might think that you can't do it if you are presented with the option or with the temptation, but in actual fact, we as a gender have already exercised more control and restraint than we or the ladies are aware of. The stereotype, the public perception is that we don't, but in actuality, we're the ones who have had to, and we've done it. How else do 51% of us pass away without having any wives or children? But there are so few sexual criminals in any society, period. How else does this happen? Now, granted, people could say, well, the Catholic priests were on that celibacy stuff and look what happened to the kids. Yeah, that did go unchecked. That was a problem. Somebody once said that when polygyny was the standard for wealthy men in the Ottoman Empire, that 60% of men were unmarried. And of course, since fornication was illegal, that just meant that young boys were not safe for that time. And I don't know how true that was. People will say anything about any Muslim jurisdiction, whether it's true or not. As long as it's negative, they'll say it, they'll run with it. What I do understand is that for the most part, men have controlled it already better than what we thought. I'm talking about a way to make it easier so that if they do decide to try to bargain with the peace leave, you would be able to look and say, well, it probably would be nice, but you know what? Here are the standards you need to meet for me to even take your peace leave. See, that's what I'm talking about, making it even easier. And that's where the fasting comes in. You can tailor it to you. Some of you would say, well, I tried it and my libido spiked. Well, maybe in the beginning, sure. The first few hours, sure. The first day, yeah. But when you start to approach scarcity levels in the body and it starts to consume even some of the fat reserves, that's when it goes into a different mode. And so at that point, it resets and you are more easily turned off. You don't become asexual. You don't all of a sudden, you certainly don't become homo. What I'm saying is that you just have a very low libido. You can take it or leave it. It's about like the women's. You have less than they do. That means you got more control. That means you have more negotiating power. Here's the funny thing. Fasting doesn't work for them that way. It spikes their libido for the long haul until they approach starvation levels. Like famine levels. For you, that's different. So, that's your weapon, gentlemen. Right there. To use pheromones as a shortcut, they do work. They increase the women's competitive instinct towards you. They make her subconsciously identify you as a ladies' man, and we know what that does for you. But see, even if every man used this all the time, it wouldn't have the same effect if you're still offering that peen so easily. You gotta stop. Male chastity is going to be the one thing that's going to even this thing out, even out this problem. Nothing else. Other things may work in the short term. You can use them as supplements, but only this. Now I want you to stop and think, suppose the women know that regardless of the men's libido, they will fast, and if she wants to get some peen, she needs to be marriage material and married. What the hell you think would happen? Same thing in reverse, because right now all that's really happened is that the women have beat us to the punch because they're shy and also because they're trained to. I'm not going to go and make this thing too long talking about how that got started. What I am going to say is that it can be flipped and reversed. We're already outnumbered as adults. Male chastity has its rewards. There's something to be said for it. Even here where I live, there are young teenage boys that are being pursued. There are males that are being chased because they're being chased. Yeah, same pronunciation, spelled two different ways, two different meanings. They're being pursued because they're not making things easy on these women without a marriage contract. Now, it's the man that has to pay the dowry. But the thing that's stopping the women from dropping these dowries is usually their fathers. So anyway, this being said, I think I've said enough. I didn't want to make this too long, but yeah, all this self-improvement stuff, I mean, it's fine for you, but it's not fine for them. Not at all. It's not going to work and have a lasting effect until men collectively start making the peen more difficult. Make them work just for that. If everything else you value more than you value your peen, that's even better, because then everything else they want, they're going to have to work even harder for that. And they're going to have to understand that they can't be running around here on these carousels and then coming back to some of us because they denied us due to thirst or anything like that. No, that's what they've been banking on. We're all going to go with these same few guys and have our fun. Then when we need someone to settle down with, we'll go to the ones we've all collectively been depriving. Because it depends on all of them collectively depriving you. That's why they do it. That's why 87 to 93% of us aren't succeeding with them. It ain't even because you're unattractive. No, it's because what they're looking for is to be able to be hoes and not be labeled and treated as such and deal with the consequences. That's why. Be a hoe today and be a housewife tomorrow. That is their motto. Everything else is centered around that. Everything they do, every game they play, even if they don't have to discuss it with each other, it's all based on them insisting on being hoes today and being housewives tomorrow. Or being housewives today after having been hoes yesterday. That's all it is. If you stop and you factor everything else that they do in, pretty much that's what it boils down to. To ride a carousel that's a lot of cocks for one woman, but to ride a carousel that's still very few dudes. Then turn around, come to the rest of us later on. Like what Lori Harvey done did with Michael B. Jordan. And yeah, he was, by the way, next recording, I think I'm going to talk about why it is that simping should not just be left as a personal choice. But anyway, let me get to this right quick because I want to make this short and keep it short. If you think that it's biologically impossible and it can't be done, well, then just go ahead and accept that feminism will spread and paternity fraud will spread and hoes demanding to be housewives will spread, and that most men will be condemned to not just abstinence for a time, but celibacy for their lives, or have to raise other men's kids, and that the women have won. Not just the women, but the worst women of any society have won. Nothing else is going to work like this will. Everything else that will work, all the self-improvement stuff will work if this is also implemented. Thanks for listening. Black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.